Morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Absolutely, I think we're all still ecstatic about the game yesterday. Over the moon, in fact, aren't we? Fantastic result, fantastic scoreline. But poll was a tough one. Rodgers needs to put two up front. I've got an early poll going this morning. Who should be the number one striker? Johnny Kenny has been talking about the fact that he thinks he should be the number one striker. And I've got to put my money on Johnny Kenny. As it stands just now, he's better than Adam Ida. We've not seen Shin Yamada yet. He could be an absolute star in the making. But Adam Ida is he's off the pace a bit. And Johnny Kenny, Adam Ida's bound to be looking over his shoulder and saying, do you know what? This young guy's good. This young guy's good. And anyway, tell me what you think in the poll. Who should be the number one striker? Johnny Kenny, Adam Ida, or Shin Yamada? And I'm going to take a note of this one because we'll come back to it in about 4 or 5 weeks' time once we've seen Yamada play a few games for Celtic and see if there's anyone changed their minds. Tell me in the comments why you think what player should be number one striker. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers insisted that the transfer business is far from finished at Celtic. There's no word on a new deal for Dyson Maeda, and it was speculated last night that Brentford are still looking and speaking to Dyson Maeda's team. Maeda now entering the final 2 years of his contract. There's been rumours of a breakthrough. There's been no rumours of a breakthrough in a new deal. Amid interest from elsewhere, Celtic are on the trail of Royal Antwerp's Mikel and Belisha, and they've been linked with a few other players. Brendan Rodgers has addressed in terms of bolstering and boosting the squad in the wake of selling Kyogo Furiashi and Nico Kuhn for a combined fee of 27 million in the last 6 months. Got to remember that we've pulled in 26 million in the last 6 months from player transfers. That's not including the money that we got in for players that we sold a long time ago. And we have brought in a fair number of players. We've brought in 6 signings. Yes, we have brought in 6 signings this transfer window, and I did say that this is going to be a big window. I think that we're on 6 signings already. I think that we will hit around about 10 signings coming in this summer, just to keep the squad on an even keel. All the talk last night and yesterday, Marco Tilio was taken off, and I think he was taken off because Celtic didn't want him to get injured. He's on his way out the door. Celtic are reportedly set for Marco Tilio is set for a loan with an option to buy. A loan deal with an option to buy at Rapid Vienna. And you've got to say, Marco Tilio he's not good enough for Celtic. He's not. When you think of the wingers that we've had, and the wingers that we've got, Dyson Maeda, and we just hope and pray that we can keep Dyson. And then when Jota comes back into the team, Marco's getting nowhere near Jota, is he? I mean, he couldn't have laced Jota's left boot, to be fair. But Tilio looks like he will leave. When you look at the other winger that's going to be leaving, Lewis Palmer, it leaves us way short in the front department. Marco has been pretty keen to go to Europe, it was said before he left Australia. The Australian team that he was at said, look, he's Celtic's property, we don't own the player, so we'll see where he goes. There was an ongoing discussion to see what his next move was, but his preference was a move to European football, whether it be with Celtic or another team. Tilio's potential move to the Austrian Bundesliga could give the player more first team opportunities, and I hope that Celtic put in a little buyback clause just in case he comes good. You never know. You just never know. But will Celtic do that, or will Celtic put in a sell-on clause? There's more chance of Celtic putting in a sell-on clause rather than Maybe we should try Lincoln Red Imps. Oh, Jesus. Watching Tilly before City didn't look that good enough for us. I think that we can all agree, and I think Brendan Rodgers will have seen enough of him in training. I mean, there is a player in there. He does have some fancy footwork and all the rest of it, but when it comes to Scottish football, I think he comes under the... And he doesn't, actually, because I was going to try and compare him to Alex Bailly, but Alex Bailly is a way up here as a player. I mean, Alex Bailly was sold for £6.5 million. Marco Tilio would be lucky to get 2 or 3 million for him. And when it comes to the rigours of Scottish football, Marco Tilio is going to get knocked a bit all over the place, isn't he? So anyway, Adam, he does push. Oh, jeez. There is a poll going on this morning. Make sure you jump onto that. There's been over 100 odd people on the live, 138 already. There's only 34 votes, so get voting on the poll this morning. Anyway, the fact that Brendan Rodgers is trying to bolster and boost the front line of Celtic, having sold Kyogo Furuhashi for 10 million, having sold Kun for 17 million, we've got the money to spend. We do have the money to spend without dipping into the coffers in the bank, the big bulging. Brendan Rodgers said yesterday, we've still got a lot to do, but the guys that are training and working with us are doing well. You saw that today. We did. It was fantastic. You're not going to... I mean, the only one thing I would say is about Adam Ida is he should have scored that goal towards the end. You know, he should have smashed that into the back of the net. We've seen many players, we've seen many crosses come over like that, and players put it into the back of the net. Adam Ida needs to get his scoring boots on quick, or he's going to fall down the pecking order at Celtic. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers said that I would expect us by the end of the window to have brought in players in certain areas of the pitch that we need to go through a really long season. I think about bringing goals to the squad. When you've scored just 4 goals, it seems to be okay. But we lost an important player in January in Kyogo. We've lost Nico Kun, lots of goals. Even Matt O'Reilly the summer before, lots of goals, said Brendan. Even though we scored a lot of goals last season, I want more, and I want our ambition to score more goals. I think across all front areas, we have to be active in order to give us depth. Asked about the progress in negotiations for Dyson Maeda, he said that his advisors, Brendan Rodgers said, I'm not aware of it, but he's a professional. He's on his way out, you can tell. Brendan Rodgers says, I'm not aware of any negotiations, but he's a professional. His focus is very much on here. Despite looking to add to firepower, he has stated that the boy Yamada will bring in firepower, and he's a buzz bomb. He's faster than Dyson. His profile suits the way he plays, says Brendan. He's one of the quickest players from the Japanese league. He's even quicker than Dyson and Kyogo in terms of statistics. Brendan, fuck. That's it. Dyson's away, isn't he? Dyson is away. Brendan Rodgers is preparing us for life without Dyson Maeda. You can just tell. When Kyogo left us, and it was a shock. It was a shock to everyone when Kyogo left. Nobody expected Kyogo to leave when he did. And I heard he's also faster than Usain Bolt. When Brendan Rodgers said, we've known for a number of months that Kyogo Furuhashi wanted away, I think he's I've heard he's faster than Superman. Oh. He's a lot better than Maeda and Kyogo. Maeda ain't going nowhere, stop worrying. Lanky, if he gets sold, that one's going to come back to bite you on the bum. It is going to come back to bite you on the bum. But Brendan Rodgers, getting back to what Brendan Rodgers said yesterday, talking about our new striker. I'm really forward to seeing what he can bring. Rodgers is also delighted to Kieran Tierney, who set up scales for his goal. Absolutely brilliant cross. Brilliant. You can see why. I mean, Brendan Rodgers said we're so lucky, and we are. we're so lucky to have a player of Kieran Tierney's quality. Kieran Tierney could have went to Juventus. He could have went to Seville in Spain. You know, he had a pick a choice of clubs that he could have went to for well over 100 grand a week. And he's came back to Celtic on a reduced wage for the love of the club. Do you know, for the love of the club. And to have someone of his standard at the club can only elevate the other players. And I think, you know, it's the type of player, and I've spoken about this before, that Callum McGregor always had better players around him coming through his ranks at Celtic before he taken over as captain, before he taken over the captaincy. He always had better players around him. He always had more experienced. When you look at Kieran Tierney coming back to the club, it's nothing short of fantastic that we've once again managed to elevate the standard of the squad and not spend any money. And that's the irony fact of it. We've not spent any money to get in Kieran, but we've got him on a fantastic wage, and he's a fantastic player. And that cross yesterday for Big Scales to come in and smash the header right into the back of the net. You've got to love Scales. You've got to love him. He's a player that doesn't matter who comes in. You know, Dane Murray stepped into that position, and Dane Murray gave a good account of himself yesterday. But then Scales is just, you know he'll do it. You know he'll do it. No matter what the doubters say. No matter what the doubters say, right? People say, oh, Scales isn't good enough. Scales is that. I see it. He's got this whole shirt pulling thing that goes on in games. And if he drops that from his game, and he just goes up that 1-2% again, you've got an absolute fantastic player in Scales. You know, when he's been asked to up his game, he ups his game. And that's all you can ask as a player. And if he does the same again this season, including me, there's going to be a lot of Celtic fans going to go, do you know what, fair play to Scales. And I hope he does do it personally, because I think it's a fantastic story. It's a fantastic story that he was deemed not good enough for Celtic. And this is what makes Celtic a club. When people think that you're not good enough and you're just, the club cannot do it against the odds, that's what Celtic's about. And Scales is just one of those players that is everything that you want from Celtic. You know, going against the grain, upping your level to a standard that people think that you can't get to, and proving people wrong and just winning. It's an absolutely fantastic story if he keeps on doing it and keeps performing. And I tell you one thing, it's going to be a cracking season for the player if he does, because there's one thing, Dane Murray looks a player. He definitely looks a player, and he looks the type of guy that can give Scales a run for his money. You know, and that's what you want. People coming through the system that want to fight and improve all the time. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers talking about Tierney says it was brilliant. It was I wanted to get specific, and I wanted a welcome back for Kieran. Playing at the top of the English Premiership, the reception that he got, and you seen it on Tierney's face when he was coming on the pitch. You could see him getting quite emotional. With everyone, to a man, a standing ovation. And I did say that they were playing to the crowd yesterday, and you know, it was fair play for Kieran. He needed that, and what a welcome. And you could see it in his eyes that he was, you know, it was. And he said after the game, it was a little bit emotional coming back on. He could easily have been playing anywhere. He could have stayed in England, could have played the top league in England, could have went to Italy, could have went anywhere. And Brendan Rodgers says it's an amazing for us to get a player of his level back at Celtic. Anyway, let's get on to the Johnny Kenny. Johnny Kenny has a message for any transfer prospects coming to Celtic. Be it Adam Ida, be it Daisen Maeda, be it Shin Yamada. Johnny Kenny has vowed to push and compete with Adam Ida and any other strikers that might arrive at Celtic before the window. I've scored many goals this pre-season, and I'm not stopping here. Scoring against Newcastle would have done him the world of good, and you've got to say it was a top draw finish. It was composure to put pressure on the goalkeeper. It was composure to make the keeper make a decision. it was. Do you know, if Henrik Larsson scores that, you're shouting for the rafters about it. Chris Sutton does something like that, you're shouting for the rafters about it. Johnny Kenny does it, and we're not really talking about it. I thought it was a brilliant. Everyone's talking about the kick out for Kasper Schmeichel. The keeper does the kick out, but the striker's got the hard part to play. You know, he's got to have the composure to get past the defenders, make that run, be on time, not offside when the ball's kicked, to then face up and give the goalkeeper a decision to make. The keeper needs to come out, he needs to connect with the ball, and he didn't, and Johnny Kenny gets his reward. And that's what you want as a striker. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. For me, I just think that if he keeps on progressing the way that we've gone, we're going to have one hell of... And it's no wonder that Celtic turned down £500,000 for him, because £500,000, you know, that wouldn't even get his left boot as it stands. Gaza and Ezzy Howe were in the house for a bag of cans and a fishing rod. Oh, Jesus. Will Brendan Rodgers give Johnny Kenny enough game time, says Paul Baird. I think as it stands just now, Johnny Kenny's in line for a starting berth the first game of the season, Paul, as our main striker. Go back a few seasons to when Ryan Christie was at Celtic and the manager dropped Rio Hatate from the first games of the season because Ryan Christie was in... No, it wasn't Ryan Christie. It was David Turnbull, sorry. Apologies. David Turnbull. When David Turnbull was absolutely on fire in pre-season, David Turnbull was way better than Rio pre-season. And he got the call for the first games of the season because his form was better. I think that... And I'm going to say it, I think Johnny Kenny, if he keeps on playing the way that he is, Johnny Kenny will be the number one striker on the first game of the season because he's in better form. And Brendan Rodgers would be I think he'll look at it and he'll look at who's scoring the goals. Seriously, who's scoring the goals? I'm going to start with Johnny Kenny on the first game of the season. For me, if the first game of the season's next weekend, I'm starting Johnny Kenny up front rather than Adam Ida. In all honesty, I think that it's a given that if the season starts, if it was on Wednesday night, the first game of the season, you're putting Johnny Kenny as your main striker all day long, and I think he's definitely given Brendan Rodgers something to think about, you know. And will he give him enough game time? I think yes, if he keeps on producing the way that he is. Kenny is 21, for fuck's sake. People need to remember that. So, chill pill. We've got another 21-year-old that cost £11 million. Do you know, he's the same age as Arnie Ingles. Do you know, if he's good enough, get him in there. Is people giving him stick? People giving Johnny Kenny stick in the comments? I'm not looking. But anyway, if he's good enough, play him. And for me, he is good enough. That's just my opinion. Anyway, Johnny Kenny says he ran himself into the ground yesterday. He said after the game, "Of course, I want to go every day in front of the manager and make a claim for the number one position of striker. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of rotation, but I want to be there, chipping away with goals for this amazing club. The more competition, the better. Every day is a challenge at a big club. Adam Ida is my fellow countryman, and us Irish look after each other. He's been brilliant for me since I came in through the door, and absolutely brilliant. Dyson Maida too. He's a joy to play with. You can never write him off. He's amazing. To play with someone like that is a joy. It was great to get a run out again and to get goals. It was a bonus. The manager has been brilliant with me to give me the opportunity to play against such big opposition in Newcastle. A long way to come for Newcastle for a pumping, wasn't it? I just want to take in every day and I want to learn, says Johnny Kenny. It was a tough physical test and mentally, but I handled it very well. And he did that. He did. I thought he was a bit sporadic at the beginning of the game, but he grew as the game went on. The first 5-10 minutes, he was a bit all over the place, and he was maybe wasn't focusing enough. But once he started focusing, I'll tell you one thing, he was definitely penthouse. You can get so anyway. We move on from that. We've done Marco Tilio. Celtic have won their second trophy of the pre-season in the Adidas Trophy. Yep, the second trophy of pre-season. Calmac gets the inaugural Adidas Trophy, and we get it in Celtic Park. Another one, another first, the first to win the Adidas Cup. Who will we get next year? But anyway, in the poll, who should be the number one striker? Chilpel, I'm going to redo the poll at the end of August, and I'm going to keep a note of this one, and I'm going to redo the poll at the end of August saying who should be the number one striker, and see if people have changed their mind. Johnny Kenny, Adam Ida, Shin Yamada. You never know. We might have brought someone else in by then. It's time to hold my hands up. There's a lot of people having second thoughts about Johnny Kenny. Early season treble. We take the Como Cup. Will Celtic do a double treble in the one season? Do we need left back up if we have Inamura? Yes. I'm going to say yes. As good as Inamura is, I'm not sure that he's ready for the rigours of Champions League football. What about Sinn Féin's number? Maeda will be first choice striker. I don't think so. We don't have the wingers. Dyson will be kept as a winger unless we go out and bring in four wingers. There's no way that Dyson's going to be used as a striker. We can't afford to keep Dyson as a striker. There's just no way. But we're lacking in that department. If we're going to keep playing, I mean, it means that we're then going to play Benji as a winger. Is Yang good enough to be your main winger? I mean, we're going to lose Marco Tilio, we're going to lose Palma, and Jota's out for up until January. So all that leaves us with wingers is Yang and Dyson and maybe Benji. We've no backup wingers. We still need to bring in a minimum of 2 wingers in this window. A minimum of 2 wingers. That's the bare minimum, just to keep the squad, just to give the squad a bit of competition. And God help us if we lose Dyson between now and the end of the window. That's just going to be absolutely bonkers. Absolute bonkers. I thought Yang wanted to leave. Well, he does. He said to Brendan Rodgers he wants to look at Norwich. Do you know? And if that's the case, all we've got is wingers. It could be by the start of next week. If Marco leaves on Monday, if Louis Palma leaves on Monday, and then Yang wants out the door, do you know, all we're left with is Dyson Maeda. And then we're going to play Benji as a winger. A lot of people are saying that Benji isn't a winger. Brendan Rodgers has been playing him in the holding midfield role. Fuck me. Anyway, and it is what it is when it comes to Celtic. We're on 110 votes. Got that to 111. I'm going to close the poll down. Did one more vote, and it is sitting at an interest number. There we go. Palmer's no loss. Yeah, but he might be no loss, Chilpil, but when you've got a long season, we're very short on numbers. Do you know, it's okay, he's pish, get rid of him. But it puts the squad in a really, really weak place. Yang's a good player, needs to play week in, week out. I think Brendan Rodgers does think that as well. Palmer wouldn't get a start at my work. But as Norwich have pulled the plug on Yang. Well, there you go. If they've pulled the plug on Yang, and maybe Celtic will manage to keep a hold of him. Maybe they've pulled the plug on him because he's now going to cost too much. Jason Lee says we need to desperately sign wingers. just catching up. Kieran Tierney's taken to social media. Very rarely talks on social media. We all know what that was. But anyway, that's the big news for this morning. Is it looks like it's going to be wingers. And will we bring in a defender? And when will Cameron Carter-Vickers be fit? When will Cameron Carter-Vickers be fit? Because let's face it, we do only have 2 games now left in pre-season. Cameron Carter-Vickers is way behind when it comes to pre-season fitness. Although he is back on the training pitch with the squad. Stephen Welsh is out injured. I'll tell you one thing, we are going to have to bring in some kind of backup in the defensive areas. We're going to have to bring in a defender, a midfielder, 3 wingers and another striker. It's going to be a busy final end to the month. Big Rocky's out on loan. Odom Ohm is out on loan. Louis Palmer's about to go out on loan. Marco Tilio is about to go out on loan, all with options to buy. The only one that doesn't have an option to buy is Odom Ohm. He's the only one that Los Angeles do not have an option to buy with the player. Anyway, that is your Celtic news for this morning. Have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are all around the world.